smokes. The title of this was Kamala Harris campaign outsmarted by a teenager?
All right. Did the Kamala campaign get outsmarted by a teenager? A top Democratic mega donor is singing the praises of Barron Trump for pushing his dad to get on the popular podcasts like Joe Rogan, while Harris staffers were busy trying to stop her from going on, and they were crying racism.
What the Harris campaign should have done, instead of avoiding Joe Rogan and podcasts, it turns out that Barron Trump, who looks like a runway model, was telling his father, you need to go on podcasts, you need to go on Joe Rogan. Barron Trump is a lot smarter than everybody in the Harris. They said they didn't go on Joe Rogan, the progressives around her. Look, if I'm running, I'm going on Joe Rogan. I'm living on Fox.
So what comes next for the vice president who blew through nearly $2 billion of donor money?
Y'all get Oprah on the phone right now. Y'all said y'all called her, she hung up. You called her and she hung up the phone. Couldn't get Beyonce to perform at the rally. Whew. Y'all thought it was going to turn Texas blue. They thought they were going to flip Texas blue. They ought to be ashamed of themselves. The fake news, the corrupt media, the propaganda. They ought to be ashamed of themselves, man.
What's next for you? Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, meanwhile, the list of excuses for a devastating defeat just gets longer and longer, with Harris campaign staffers blaming everything from the political climate to hurricanes and just not enough time. But some people are sick of it. Nate Silver posting on X, quote, "The Harris campaign folks are the most non-agenic people I've encountered in a position of comparable decision-making authority. They don't even see themselves as victims so much as non-player characters with no will of their own." Just absolutely scouring there with big words.
Yep.
Kennedy, broad picture here. Are Democrats taking a self-look to correct course and fix things, or are they perpetuating the culture of victimhood in their defeat?
It's very difficult to do both, but they absolutely are doing both, because what we've seen post-election is three distinct vocal camps right now who were running her campaign. You have the Biden faction, and they gave up at the end. They didn't know their guy was going to give up. They were bad on messaging. They were bad on policy, but she wanted to, out of loyalty, I guess, keep some of them on her side. Then you have the Obama people. They had a two-term winning president who's still arguably the most likable person in the Democrat Party. So they are blaming the Biden people, and the Harris people are blaming both, and also claiming misogyny and racism on top of all of that. But, they would do themselves a favor and the country if they were just honest about some of the mistakes they made. But they can't do that because, to Nate Silver's point, they weren't relying on intuition. They weren't going, what does my gut tell me about this race? What does my gut tell me people are thinking when 70% of them say the country is on the right?
Yeah, all they couldn't even be honest. Bad enough she wasn't qualified. Bad enough it was DEI. Didn't earn it. Drunk entire inventory. She was drunk as hell every time we seen her. Every time she spoke. Word salads, word spaghetti. But they couldn't be honest. That made it even worse. Oh boy.
Wrong track. And so the bullet points that they got lodged in her head that she regurgitated over and over and over again, not only didn't help her at all, it was an insult to voters. So, she, with her emerging saying, I'm still in the fight, I don't blame John Morgan, the Democrat donor, who's saying, no, please don't ever fight again. You didn't do yourself, the party, or the country any favors. And now they're in a worse position than they were, arguably, when Biden was still the nominee.
Kellyanne, I hope Jen O'Malley Dillon got a bunch of that $2 billion that was wasted, because I can't see how she can work in this world again. Not just because they lost the way they did, but she goes on there, and this, just really, it made me furious. She blames a hurricane.
I know.
casually, that destroyed people's lives. People are still living in tents from that hurricane, and she says it was some hindrance in her ability to win a campaign.
Yeah, I thought even Joe Biden, if he wants to be presidential, can be down in North Carolina helping victims of the hurricane for Thanksgiving, not in Nantucket at a billionaire's big spread again. But the hurricane, if anything was to blame, it was Kamala Harris, because she was at a fundraiser in San Francisco, and it's Donald Trump who yet again went where the pain and the needs were. He went to Georgia, he went to North Carolina, just like he was the first one on the scene in East Palestine, Ohio, when they had the train derailment and the toxic waste. Look, Kamala Harris lost this election, but Donald Trump won it. And those are two different things, and both happened. Donald Trump won it because he was the more joyful candidate. He connected with people. He was inspirational and informative. She had neither of that. The Democrats are suffering, Joey, from message, messenger, and delivery. The message was awful. It's basically that, no, don't believe your eyes when you see people coming across the border illegally. When you see the open border, you see the unaffordability of everyday life. Don't believe your own eyes. Believe what we say, not what you see.
Yeah, it's all AI edited. It's cheap fakes, deep fakes. And we're going to run this thing on joy, hope, pride.
The messenger was horrible. John, this donor is absolutely right. She doesn't have a lot of talent. I'm not putting her down. I'm saying I think Kamala Harris's candidacy was a sign of the times, but Donald Trump's presidency is a metaphor for the country. Get up and fight, resilient, overcome so much that's thrown at you. I want to say something about Barron Trump and new media. In 2016, we had to roll the dice. We didn't have a lot of money. So we did 50% digital ads, 50% conventional television ads. That paid off. We were big Facebook, Google, YouTube buyers of media. It paid off. Fast forward 8 years, the new media were these podcasts and also TikTok. A lot of Republicans, a lot of people close to Trump, a lot of members of Congress saying, ban TikTok, ban TikTok. Instead of banning it, Trump got on it. And he announced that he was going on it for the first time in a UFC fight in February, March. This was brilliant because Forbes magazine came out with a study this week of the 10 best performing TikToks in 2024, 8 came from President Trump's campaign, 5 in just the last week, in the garbage truck, at McDonald's, and amplifying the Joe Rogan podcast. So millions saw him on Joe Rogan originally as it was happening, millions more on TikTok. They made a mistake not just going on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan predicted in July Kamala Harris was going to win. He kept saying that a few times. That's the time to go on Joe Rogan and say, thank you, Joe. What is it that you and your audience see? And it wasn't just Joe Rogan. Barron Trump recommended to his father, he talked to Theo Vaughn, he talked to Bo Loudon. This is just getting in with the cultural zeitgeist. And frankly, I thought the Kamala Harris campaign was toast when they say, we're just looking at data. They're talking about moderates instead of independents. They're saying that transgender rights were not important, so they didn't respond to his ads.
The data wasn't there like they were telling the rest of the campaign
They lied about the data the way they lied about Joe Biden being a trapeze artist and a triathlete behiund the scenes. Different kind of lies, same
Jimmy,
liars.
Give it a minute.
I can't help but draw this comparison. You two have a very tall and handsome teenage son. So are you going to farm him out in the midterms as a campaign advisor and try to get some money out of that? Or how does that work?
It is
the second Lincoln administration.
Thank you. We have a double Lincoln administration. The problem is Lincoln's dad can't run because he couldn't pass the background check. Okay. Barron Trump's dad did just fine. Lincoln's dad's going to have a little bit of an issue. But she's right to say teenage boys are so tapped into the culture in terms of which way the wind is blowing. And the reason Trump won this election is because he suddenly became fashionable in a lot of circles he didn't have access to in 2020. Imagine in 2020 when the entirety of the NFL was kneeling in protest of this imaginary claim that we were a systemically racist country, but Donald Trump was basically associated with that, which was wrong. But now fast forward 4 years, every NFL player is doing the Trump dance when they score a touchdown. It's because he was welcomed into a lot of aspects of pop culture he didn't previously have access to because of Rogan, because of the MMA fights, because of Theo Vaughn, because of some of the black podcasts he went on. So when I watch this, it's all fascinating because that's where the culture shifted. And when you see Kamala out there serving the turkey yesterday, I thought that's the type of optics she needed during the election, but she's only doing it after the election because they're making her work off her bar tab. You know what I mean? That wasn't actually volunteer work. She's trying to.
That is spot on. Boy, that is some debt right there. Unbelievable. Wanted to run the country. Couldn't even budget $1 billion and wanted to run the country. Man, I'm enjoying this take from the five. And y'all know, usually I love when Jesse and Greg and Judge is on Dana, you know what I'm saying? But I'm sort of liking this group here, you know.
Settle up with a lot of people. One more point, and I'll punt. I'm sorry to hog. Okay, the fact that the donor said, well, she should have did all of these things. Those donors should have been speaking up during the election because they're the reason she was the nominee. The donors have all the power in this party. So for him to sit it out was an error by him.
Said, we're going to hold the money till you change it out.
Yep.
Leslie, real quick, it's 2028. We've got world peace. The economy's booming. There's a big, beautiful wall. It's time for a new president. Is Kamala Harris, is there an appetite for her in that primary?
Kamala Harris, if she runs for president,
when you're from Georgia,
I'm not sure she will. I think that she will run for governor of California. I don't know if she'll get the nomination, and if she does, I don't know if she'll, win the election. I'm not clairvoyant. I don't have a crystal ball. If I did, I would be a multimillionaire and I wouldn't have to work anymore, right? Look. First of all, this guy's a former Democratic donor. Second of all, to your point with Joe Biden, who asked him. Third, Joe Rogan. I did think she should go. I did think that Vice President Harris should have gone on Joe Rogan. My understanding was they did agree, and then when she finally did agree, he didn't agree to her terms.
However,
wait.
But what I'm saying, that you pay for to Texas,
guys, give me my 60
She
seconds.
was in Texas that weekend, by the way. That is hard.
Yeah, just when I say I'm enjoying it, it's always something, Yeah. And I already knew it was gonna be something when she said, her name is Kamala Harris, Chameleon Harris, Comrade Harris. Hey man, I'm sick of people with all that crap, man. She lost. You shouldn't care what her name is after that. The hell with it. She lost. I don't give a damn if her name is Kamala, Chameleon, Kamala. I don't care. Obama, because Obama wanted his 4th term. I don't care. She lost. But I was enjoying this take from the 5, man. I really was. We got some individuals I usually don't react to or post. But I'm actually enjoyed this take, man. I'm used to loving on Jesse and Greg and our usual lineup that keeps things spicy. Jessica Tarloff. But yeah. All right, we'll take it though. We will take it. Barron Trump is smarter than Team Kamala.
Hogwash.
She went and hung out with Beyonce.
What I just said was, by the time she agreed and her terms, he didn't want to agree to. However, even if she had gone on, that doesn't mean that, she would have won. But I do think there is a different way of messaging. I would agree with Kellyanne on that. The podcast and the TikTok, we have kids that are, just turning 18. They're voting for the first time ever. And this is where you reach them. Barack Obama, right? What did he do? He did that whole grassroots thing. People thought he was crazy. $1, $2, $3, right? It was very smart, very helpful. TikTok, podcast, very smart, very helpful. And my party, to the point of blame game, not productive. What you do, I tell my kids, if you mess up a test, look at what you did wrong, relearn it, try to understand it, retake the test to do better going forward. And that's what we have to do. Republicans did that, by the way, themselves in 2008. Okay. When Barack Obama won, when Democrats had a larger majority in the House and the Senate, and that's what Democrats have to do now going forward. And last thing with donors, there's always going to be a winner, there's always going to be a loser. If you write the check, you have a 50-50 chance at getting your investment.
Yeah, $2 billion. I think they got some fraudulent information on that
rubles.
investment. All right, up next.
Yeah, $2 billion. Man, $1 billion. And now we're in debt. And these people wanted to run the country. Boy. But man, I love to hear it, man. A teenager outsmarted the Kamala Harris campaign. It's a bright future for Barron Trump. It's a very, very bright future. What do y'all think? Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think of this. I love you guys. I'm wishing the best in all you guys' life. And I will catch you beautiful people in the next one. Peace and love, y'all.